Ladies and gentlemen, coming up on Patriot Confederation, we're going to talk all about communism, and we're going to speak with a man who lived the life of communism. All that and more coming up.
This is the Patriots Prayer Network, where truth matters.
The following is a presentation of AOW Productions.
The views and opinions expressed by the host of this program do not necessarily state or reflect those of this station or its management.
Every patriot has an obligation to question authority. Those who are honest are not concerned with your watchful vigilance, and those with integrity are not concerned with your discernment. Every American is obligated to voice their concerns and stand up for their freedoms and liberties.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the men in the arena. We are the Patriot Confederation.
We will never back down from a fight. We're undefeated Americans.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Patriot Confederation for the 10th of September, 2024. I'm your host, Bad Billy, out of Twin Falls, Idaho, joined as always by John Grosvenor out of Nashua, New Hampshire. What's going on up there, brother?
Not a whole heck of a lot, Billy. It is primary season. It's our primary for our congression and Congress and state and stuff like that. So we had that today going on, and looking forward to this debate tonight after the Patriot Confederation. Of course, we're going to see Donald Trump and Kamala Harris duke it out, and we know who's going to win that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, so our guest this week once again is joining us via the phone. We have Peter Vodenka joining us. Peter, how are you doing?
I am doing good. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. So for those of you who are wondering who Peter is, he is a former resident of the, I'd say Czechoslovakia, grew up in communism, born into communism, grew up in communism, and escaped communism. And you want to hear his whole story, go to the link in the description for the when he was on Common Sense Conservatives, and you can hear his full story. We've only got an hour to talk about stuff, so we don't really have time to go into that story. So what we're talking about now is basically I'd like to hear about how you lived when you had to live under a communist regime in Czechoslovakia. And of course, we're looking at the ballot this year in 2024, and it has communism written all over it. I mean, Kamala Harris is undoubtedly, so they say she's further left than Bernie Sanders, and has to, even you have Liz Cheney, who's stupid enough to endorse her after just 4 short years ago talked about how she was one of the worst candidates and how far left she was and how she would destroy America if she was in the White House. Well, and now here she is voting for. I don't get that. I mean, we've also got people who said back in 2016 that Donald Trump would start World War III. And now some of those very same people are saying, if it takes World War III to keep Trump out of the White House, so be it. So we have a lot of double standards here. And like I said, communism is on the ballot. And if you think communism is something good, I think Peter here is going to tell you else. So, Peter, let's talk about it. Of course, like you were born in communism and had to deal with that lifestyle. I mean, the story of your escape is quite a miraculous one, if you ask me. But let's start off by talking about what it was like to live under a communist regime in Czechoslovakia.
Well, the communist regime, communism is pretty much dictatorship. The dictatorship is bad word. So people, they don't call themselves communists or dictators, but that's what it is. It's easy for somebody to say, hey, I think the communism is good. I believe in communism. People are equal and all this other stuff. And so I am communist. That's kind of easier to say than saying, I believe in dictatorship. I think dictatorship is good. You're going to have good life under dictatorship. That's almost impossible to say. So communist is pretty much a replacement for dictatorship, but that's exactly what it is. We know dictators around the world, and they run in their countries or clans or tribes or whatever. But communism is dictatorship in the whole government. That's just not one person. And communism is pretty much 100% of control over its citizens. And if citizens stay in the line or are quiet and don't complain, don't say anything, they are being left alone. But the minute somebody says something simple as if you say, hey, I don't think this government is good, or I think that I don't believe in communism, then you would be persecuted for something simple like that. And you would end up in pretty much communist prisons. And in my home country, the political criminals, which are anybody who disagree with the communism in any way, any form, then they were working in the uranium mines. The Czech Republic has the large uranium mines. It's really rich in it. And the political criminals, were mining the uranium with their bare hands pretty much. And not too many made it out alive. And that's the way the communists prefer it. They see the political criminals in their eyes, political criminals. They see it worse sort of criminals, worse than rapists and murderers and such. So where I was living, when I was born, of course, when you are a child, I was born in communism. You don't really realize what's going on around you until you became more adult-like and you become more aware. And then you find out that everything, your whole life is being controlled, including what we can wear, what we can say, what we can read, what we can drive, if we can move from the place to place, and if we can, and what can we do for the job? Because the better jobs were reserved for members of Communist Party, but people who were not communists, like my parents, for example, myself, and majority of the people were not communists, but we had no future. We cannot get higher education. We couldn't become the teachers. We couldn't become the doctors, lawyers, or things like that. So we were people who were not members of party, were pretty much, peasants working in the factories, in the mines, everything else for very low wage, and listening and doing exactly what they tell you, unless if you step out, you would become persecuted.
So all you have to do is simply disagree with the narrative and you're a criminal. Am I mistaken?
That's exactly true. And like I said, you didn't need to do anything extreme or big. If you just were overheard by secret police, which was the communist government iron fist control, we were all scared of the secret police, and we knew they are around us and listening and watching us. Like I said, if you just simply said, I don't think this system is good or this government is good, you would be punished as if you did big crime itself.
I don't even know what to say. I didn't think that I was going to get an answer like that. But look at what's going on in England right now. Seriously, right. Look at the United Kingdom. These are the things they're doing. And
exactly.
and when you look at the way the United States is shifting, and you have groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and I know in your neck of the woods too, they have what's called the NDN Collective.
Oh yeah.
They all push for communism. And when you look at that, does it ever feel like your escape from Czechoslovakia might have been in vain?
Yes, it is very scary for me. What I see happening around us right now, it's very scary for me because, I am probably even scared more than you guys are because I know how it look like when we get there. I know what is the final outcome when actually the communism is at the full force and full power. And believe me, it's not nice at all. It's very scary. You have no life. Our government, believe it or not, the communists even have the law that you can be persecuted for your thoughts. So not that you didn't even say anything, if they figure out that you might be somehow unsafe person in their eyes and they want to persecute you, they can say, well, we know that you are thinking about, blow up the bridge. You were thinking about overthrowing the government. You were thinking about leaving the country like I did. And then they can persecute you and would persecute you just as if you actually do the real crime. So for your thoughts, you can be, end up in the gulags, in the work camps pretty much. You might need uranium, and you would be persecuted just like you did actually the crime itself.
So if they just so much suspect, even if you're not thinking any of that, if they suspect it, you're gonna be arrested and thrown in the gulag. Am I mistaken?
That's exactly right. If they feel they need to put you in the gulag, in the check that they don't want you to walk around for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what. They say, we know that you were thinking, and whatever they created, they would persecute you for the crime, which like you says, you might not even thinking that.
I'm a loss for words. John, do you have any questions?
Well, no, this is growing up in the Cold War and stuff. We were told and informed of a lot of what he's talking about. We being 55 years old, we understand a lot of what he's saying. It's unfortunately here in the United States of America, it's the youth that doesn't understand. They don't know because they were never informed. They were never told. Some of us had teachers in high school that used to have tattoos with numbers on their arm because they were Jews that were held in concentration camps as kids. And we were exposed to some of this. But yet you don't really know it unless you live it, right, Peter?
That's exactly right. And even if you live it and your mind is not really open, or maybe you are the person who are follower or person who don't care, you didn't know in the full effect of what communists were doing to people and how are they controlling the population and everything else. Lots of stuff which I'm telling you about, I knew how bad it was. I know what they were doing to people and stuff, but you don't know it, very deep because that wasn't being talked about. That it wasn't until pretty much communism lost the power, which in Europe it was in 1989, then suddenly all this information came out. And then we really learned how we were living under iron fist. Well, we know it, but we didn't know how they were pick up some person and they were watching that person and manipulating their life to the point that they could actually do something extreme to them. But if they didn't want to, if they could just, like I said, they could accuse you of anything. Or on top of that, they didn't even accuse you. In my book, I am writing about the story of my dad's coworker in the factory he was working in. For whatever reason, they figured out that communists were watching this family for whatever reason. And eventually they decide that family need to be taught lesson or scared or whatever. But one day, the young man in the family went for the Sunday stroll with the baby, newborn baby they have. And they were living in Prague, so he went for the Sunday stroll in the park in the Prague. He got picked up. Suddenly the car stopped next to them, and of course it was secret police. They pick him up, they haul him away, and their family his wife got phone call, and they says, come to certain place and pick up your child. So she didn't know what's going on, so she went to that place. They told her, and they gave her baby. And she says, what's going on? Why are you giving me my baby? Where is my husband? And they says, well, take your baby and go home. It's none of your business. And she says, no, I insist. Is he alive? Did he get run over? Did he get in the accident? Did he fall in the river? What happened to my husband? They says, go. And she says, I insist. I'm not going to leave until you tell me what happened to my husband. And they says, if you don't leave right now, we're going to arrest you and we're going to take your child away. So she went home. That family was trying to find out what happened to her husband. They were sending the letters, making the phone calls, trying to find out. Did not find anything. They didn't know if he's alive, if he is dead, if he is in gulags, if he's in Russia somewhere. They didn't know. 2.5 years later, he came back. Wow. And he was arrested in the prison that whole time. And when he was asking, why am I here? I didn't do anything. Their answer was, you better be quiet and be happy that you are still alive. If you did something, you would be executed right now. Pretty much telling him, be quiet and take it. 2.5 years later, they decided to let him go. There was no persecution. There was no jury, no accusation. There was no crime. There was nothing. He just didn't know. They just decided to hold him in prison for 2.5 years, and then they decided to let him go. And it did happen. Some people were in the prisons for 10 years, 20 years, and have no clue what crime there was.
Also, what you're describing is you don't own your body. You aren't the state basically owns everybody in the state. And when if they need labor, they put you in prison. Is that what I'm getting here? So when they need work done, they say, hey, we'll just take and arrest people and we'll use them for labor.
Yes, that is exactly, you just hit it right on the nail, right on the head. Because, like I said, political criminals were working in mining the uranium in gulags. All the uranium from the Czechoslovakia was putting in the trains and was going to Russia. Because Russians were, of course, big boss of the Eastern Europe. They did everybody was doing what they say. So they says all the uranium is going to us. They were not paying for it, but they were just getting all the uranium. And if they feel that uranium production is not enough and they need to increase it, they order the Czech government to arrest more people. So they have more laborers, pretty much slaves, in the prisons, in the gulags, in the mines, and that's what they did. They just went around, arrested more people, so they have more, pretty much, slave labor force.
I want to stick on this subject, but we got to go to our first commercial break. But I want to continue this particular subject when we come right back in just about a minute and a half. So. Be right back.
America's under attack, and they're all around us. I'm talking about liberal Democrats, and they're out to destroy everything that we've worked so hard for. Mammoth Nation's here to fight for you. You only get one vote, so let's join forces. We support conservative lawmakers and the causes you hold so dearly. We stand behind our police, veterans, the Second Amendment, and much more. We need your help, so join today.
Nitric oxide is the most important messenger molecule in the human body, responsible for the relaxation and constriction of all blood and lymph vessels, and essential for the regulation of blood pressure and cardiovascular health. For this reason, regardless of age, we all need more nutrients and nitric oxide in our bodies. Elevate your heart health with Cardio Miracle, a nitric oxide supplement that promotes and sustains the body's natural production of nitric oxide. Taken as one serving added to a beverage twice a day, Cardio Miracle produces more nitric oxide in the body, produces it faster, and sustains it longer. It'll help you age well, maintain a healthy weight, naturally boost your energy, get essential immune support, improve blood circulation, even help you sleep better. Take charge of your health and enjoy life to the fullest. Visit cardiomiracle.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Cardio Miracle, proudly affiliated with Outlaw Radio and the Bearded Patriots.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I'm just a little bit a loss for words, a bit in shock with the things you're telling me, Peter. So it sounds to me like if we want to implement communism into the United States, we can pretty much say to hell with the Emancipation Proclamation, and it doesn't matter what color your skin is, they are going to reinstate slavery. Am I wrong? They could.
No, that's pretty much true. Yes.
Wow.
Didn't they do that in California already when they were holding prisoners and forcing them? Or it was voluntary. Don't get me wrong, it was voluntary, but the voluntary thing was you're not getting out of prison unless you serve this time fighting fires for us. They were undertrained, didn't know what they were doing. Prisoners were dying fighting fires. It was basically like, they were holding their prison sentence over their head.
Wow.
You know what is the perfect example is what happened on January 6th, during Trump's re-election attempt.
Oh, yes.
They arrested people, they hold them to prison. They were not really jury or anything. They just locked people up, and those people didn't do any crime. And that's exactly what communists do. They just lock people up without any crimes, any accusations, any jury.
Well, they mislabeled the crimes if they did commit crimes. I mean, if they weren't supposed to be in the building, they used the suspension clause in the U.S. Constitution, which means they suspend habeas corpus, that's your due process, and declaring them as insurrectionists. And let's face it, they were not insurrectionists by any means. In 2020, when Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these other groups were rioting the streets, burning down churches, vandalizing statues and buildings, and looting and carrying on the way they were, and using violence, extreme violence, taking frozen water bottles and throwing them at cops. Those were peaceful protesters. Always remember that.
Now, I did want to ask you, Peter, during this time, while you were living in Czechoslovakia, was there any type of underground resistance to the government at all, or did the government pretty much have everybody living in fear of them?
Well, you know what? If there was any underground resistance, I did not know it. I know there was underground resistance early because the communists gained power, or pretty much stole the power, in Czechoslovakia in 1947, which was 2 years after the World War II. So they pretty much took the government over, and there were underground resistance at the time. There were some people who were fighting and trying to, do whatever they could to reverse the system or reverse the situation. But since then, I think they have everything locked up so much that there was no way to do anything. The policemen, if you want to be policeman, you have to be communist. If you want to be in the military, in the professional military, you have to be communist. And then, of course, they have the big, scary force, and that was the secret police, who were always watching and listening to everybody else. And this is how they were doing it. The secret police have so-called informants. Those were the people who were just living their regular life like you and I. They were people who had the job like you and I, but they were making extra money from secret police by informing on their neighbors. And it was to the point that, let's say make it simple. You have a town or village of 100 houses, and one informant would be watching 10 houses in his neighborhood. But nobody know it was happening. So he was watching the houses in your neighborhood. And then and he was reporting to secret police what was happening. And then if somebody started doing something unusual, they have levels, or they have the color lights. So if somebody was doing nothing, they were in, let's say, blue color. And if they start doing something, there was something, maybe they bought a foreign vehicle or something, car. I did own the old military Jeep, which was left over by United States Army after the World War II. Well, just because you have the American vehicle, even if it's old piece of junk, now you better be watch closer. Now they shift you into orange color watch. And then if you were doing something more than that, then they put you in the red color mark. And now you were being watched directly by secret police themselves, not by informant anymore, but you have watchers on you at all times. So there was really no chance or no way to do any kind of underground resistance, because somehow somebody would see it and would, inform on it.
And that's where our Second Amendment is so important. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand we just had a mass shooting by some punk kid in Georgia, and these things are going to happen. And I guarantee you, gun control is not going to stop any of that. In fact, it's probably going to make all that much, much worse. If they don't have guns, they're going to use knives. If they don't have knives, they're going to use baseball bats or whatever they're going to get their hands on. So
this is the United States of America. We'll make our own.
Exactly. But
Yes.
no, it's, if you got guns, you better keep them, because Peter, you actually told me something else too when I met you in South Dakota a couple months ago. And you talked about how people in Czechoslovakia, just once it was illegal to own guns, people out of fear just started giving up their guns, throwing them in the river, throw them in the melting pot, whatever they had to do. And basically the government, correct me if I'm wrong, but the government intimidated the citizens into disarming themselves.
That's correct. We have, of course, Americans are proud of their guns, and there is probably more guns among the people than maybe even military has, who know. But every here and there we hear, if we have some leftists in the government or leftist organization and stuff, they talking about the gun control, and they talking eventually what they want. Every dictatorship always takes the guns away from the people because they are afraid that people might go and fight with them. So I have friends in America who are saying they will never take my guns away. I will never give it to them. Never take, after my dead hands. And I'm saying, no, you don't understand. This is what communists did. They announced when they come to the power, that was one of the regulation. Well, everything was regulation, but they says anybody who owns any kind of gun, it could be, 50 years old shotgun, which wasn't even working, and you might have it on the wall as a decoration. Any kind of gun, including the knife, which blade is longer than 4 fingers. You can have pocket knife as far as the blade was shorter than 4 fingers. If it was longer than 4 fingers, it was considered the deadly weapon. So anybody caught with the gun, with the deadly weapon, is gonna go either death sentence or 4 years in the gulags. So punishment was so big, they didn't go and knock on the door and say, give me your guns. They didn't say, bring your guns into the police station. The punishment was so severe that people were sneaking in middle of the night, so even their neighbors cannot see them moving with the gun, sneaking and throwing them in the lakes and rivers just to get rid of it, because like I said, the punishment was so horrific that people throw them away themselves. People disarm themselves.
Wow. Just wow. Yeah, don't be fooled if that happens. Those your guns are yours. Keep a hold of them. Anyway, we are at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take our bottom of the hour break, and we will continue this discussion with Peter Vodenka, formerly of Czechoslovakia, when we come back in about 3.5 minutes. Please don't nobody go nowhere.
Hey friend, do not forget to shop our affiliates. There's Mike Lindell's My Pillow. Go to mypillow.com or mystore.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 66% off your order, or possibly more if there's a special going on. Or call 1-800-652-3982 to place your order. There's also My Patriot Supply. Make sure you're prepared for the next unplanned emergency. Get yourself some food with a 25-year shelf life, water filtration systems, solar-powered equipment, and other essential goodies at My Patriot Supply. If you like cigars, there's Patriot Cigar Company. Go to mypatriotcigars.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save up to 15% off your order. There's also We the People holsters for great inside the waistband and outside the waistband holsters, apparel, and other goodies at We the People holsters. Tactical Brotherhood offers merchandise that's veteran-owned and American-made. Your purchase with Tactical Brotherhood supports veteran organizations. Make your life easier and better with merchandise from the Caravan to Midnight store. At Concealed Carry, you can get news, purchase merchandise, obtain firearm safety training, and much more at Concealed Carry. Enroll in Red Pill University, where you can go beyond the matrix and learn what's really going on in the world. Protect your investments by investing in gold or silver from Noble Gold Investments. Silver Lining Herbs offers a wide range of herbal supplements for horses, dogs, and people. Harness the natural benefits of herbs to support the health of your beloved animals, as well as your own health. Visit silverliningherbs.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Support your health and be prepared for any emergency in the Brighteon Store, and shop from a wide selection of ultra-clean and lab-verified superfoods, supplements, preparedness items, and other health products. Elevate your heart health with Cardio Miracle, a nitric oxide supplement that promotes and sustains the body's natural production of nitric oxide. Visit cardiomiracle.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. Check out the Folium PX line of antioxidant supplements: Folium PX, Folium Relax, and Folium Immuno. Visit FOLIUMPX.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. In the RNC Store, a service of the Richardson Nutritional Center, find quality natural health supplements to improve your wellness. Visit rncstore.com and use the promo code OUTLAW to save on your order. At Patriots Cave, buy apparel, hats, drinkware, and other cool stuff for the real American patriot. At Mammoth Nation, shop American and veteran-owned merchants and get exclusive discounts. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. Where do you go for children's books with a Christian conservative perspective, minus the woke nonsense? Brave Books, that's where. Use promo code TIBN, the number 4, USA. The links for all of the affiliates mentioned here can be found in the description of this video, or visit thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. Again, all of the links for all of the affiliates mentioned in this video can be found in the description of this video, or go to thebeardedpatriots.com/affiliates. See you there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, joined once again by Peter Vodenka, who's currently in South Dakota, formerly of Czechoslovakia. So let's look at the current situations now. I mean, we know we heard what it's like to live under a communist regime, but looking at what's happening now from COVID up until now, Peter, tell me what are the things that have scared you the most since then?
Well, what scares me most is the government overreach and government being in our lives and government dictating dictating to us everything pretty much. You know, one great thing about America is that we have the United States Constitution, and that Constitution was written by our founding fathers to be protected from whom? From oppressive government. And the Constitution is a very strong weapon which we as a citizen have. And that keeps them in check. They try to ignore it. They change it. They massage it. They are saying it's too old. It doesn't work anymore. Blah blah blah. But that's our only weapon which we have, and that's what's keeping them, out of the door for now. But again, example, we all know the Constitution, right? We have freedom of speech, we have freedom of religion, we have freedom of assembly, we have freedom of bear arms. It's giving us all these freedoms. In communism, when communists came to power, because before that, Czechoslovakia was, almost like America, more freedom, private ownership, and everything else. The minute they came to power, they throw the Constitution away and they write the brand new Constitution. And the Constitution took all the power from the people and gave the power to them. So everything what we enjoy as freedoms which we have over here was highly illegal. Freedom of speech? No, I told you that, you couldn't even think what you want. Freedom of religion? No, they tore the churches down so people cannot go to churches. Freedom of bear arms, we talked about that already. Freedom of assembly. More than 6 people together could be arrested for the illegal assembly and hauled away, unless they were family members. So every article which we have in America which give us our freedom was highly illegal. Every one of them.
My goodness. Wow. And, you have Klaus Schwab with the World Economic Forum. Well, let me go back a second, because I have read part of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, and one of the things he emphasizes a lot is the abolishing private property. Then you have Klaus Schwab saying, "You will own nothing, and you will be happy," and telling people they cannot own cars. They will not be able to live in a house or have any type of land or no house. They'll live in some kind of dinky little pod. And then your diet is going to be insects.
Yes.
I mean, tell me, and they say that is not communism. How is that not communism?
Yes. It is. It's full communism. It is. Communists hate the private ownership. Communists confiscated everything from the people, and the minute they got in the power, they confiscated everything. The Czechoslovakia was just like in America before that. Private ownership, competition, freedoms, and they came to power and they confiscated everything. So if somebody own, production building and they produce anything, the government took it away. Somebody owns the apartment or house, they took it away. Farmers own their land and livestock and equipment, they took it all away. So they leveled the whole field, nobody owned everything. People who might have business, they might be 3rd, 4th generation having the business, they took it away. So they hate private ownership, of course, and they confiscated it. And that's exactly what, like you said, Klaus Schwab and those people are talking about now and doing, pushing it through.
Yes. In fact, I can't remember if it was Cisco or it's one of those big processing plants. They're starting to process insects. There's
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's trying to tell us.
Grasshoppers.
What's that?
Grasshoppers are called chapulines, and crickets are called a shedda. And they're actually doing this already. They grind them down into a mill. So they dry them out, they grind them down into a mill, and they're most likely to put them in things like bread or protein bars and things like that. So they're doing this already.
Oh, and in Brazil, and I saw a video on this in Brazil, they're actually taking cockroaches and making a bread out of them.
Yeah. You can do that with acorns and things like that.
What's that, Peter?
Well, on top of that, if they come to the power, they're going to confiscate that plant and they're going to own that plant. The government is going to own that plant and they're going to do it all themselves. Somebody owns it still today. They producing garbage, but somebody owns it. They're going to take it. They're going to take everything.
You know, it was Clay Douglas who told me back in 2011. He said, this is the way the plan falls into place. Is the first group of people they go after are the farmers, because the farmers, of course, self-sufficient. I mean, not let alone they have a lot of private property of their own, but they have the knowledge of self-sufficiency and don't need the help of the government. So they go after the farmers first, you know, take their land, throw them in a gulag or kill them or whatever. Then they go after those like us who are faithful to the old regime.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. You know, and one. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just commenting off the side here. There's mass graves for those that go against the regime.
Yes.
And you know, like I said, they came and they confiscated everything. And so if somebody says no, we're not gonna give it to you, they kill them, or they destroy them, or they throw them in the prison. They ran them out of town. So people have no choice to fight against them doing anything what they want. And one way, because communists also hate the people who are successful. They call it capitalists or owners or ownership or whatever you want to call it. But people are successful and they want everybody to be equal. Nobody be successful. Everybody is on the same level. So the one way which they accomplish this very simply again, you know, we think how we can make everybody equal, right? Rich, poor, middle class. Well, pretty simple. When they came to power, they says the money which we used are no good. Tomorrow, money are no good. We're gonna start printing the new currency, and what that accomplished is that people who might have nothing, people who might have money in the coffee can under the bed, people who might have money in the bank, the next day that money was no good. You couldn't go and buy anything because store wouldn't take it. And that way they leveled the whole field pretty much overnight. Everybody was starting equally poor for the very first paycheck. People who were successful, who are wealthy, poor people, middle class people, everybody is in the same level. Everybody starting with first low paycheck and have no money in the bank.
Wow. You know, there's that too, and the thought of digital currency, which you know, that's something I've spoken out against, and I can't begin to tell you, regardless of what kind of currency they're going to come up with, they cannot take away the value of gold or silver. So get that gold or silver IRA started with any company. I prefer you go through me at Noble Gold Investments, but pick one and start a gold or silver IRA. But, just real quick before we go to our last break, Peter, I just remember there was something I read a few years ago about how from capitalism to communism, and even there's even one step worse after communism, believe it or not. But it's about having two cows. Basically, you have two cows. The communist government is going to take away both of your cows and give you a glass of milk every day.
Sell it to you.
But Nazism, which is the next step above communism, says the government takes both of your cows and shoots you. But a capitalist takes one of the cows, sells it off for a bull, and raises a herd of his own.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take our last commercial break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up the conversation with Peter Vodenka. Please don't nobody go nowhere.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, the buckle of the Bible Belt, home of the BOK Center, the Philbrook Museum, U.S. Route 66, and Red Pill Expo 2024, November 16th and 17th at the Renaissance Tulsa Hotel and Convention Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Red Pill Expo is the major public event of Red Pill University. The mission of the expo and the university is to bring together world-class experts to set the record straight on fake narratives, fake history, and fake news. At each and every Red Pill Expo, truth seekers unite to get a better understanding of how the world really works. Worldwide, nations have been stripped of their rights and freedoms to make their own choices in life. Mark your calendars and make your plans now to attend Red Pill Expo 2024. Can't make it to Tulsa? The expo will be live streamed and archived should you miss any of it. Get more details and register today at redpillexpo.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we have about 15 minutes of show left. So, Peter, I want to quote Eddie Smith. He's, of course, one of the main hosts here on the Patriots Prayer Network, and something I've heard him say time and time again: vote now or fight later. How does it make you feel to hear something like that?
Yes, that's exactly what's going on with what we have to do. That's our only chance.
Yeah, because we implement communism. We let Kamala Harris in there, who is undoubtedly a radical Marxist, who is, basically going to let our borders stay open, and she's going to let whoever take over everything we own. And there's going to be no voting our way out of this if this happens. So I've heard I've heard things about Donald Trump, and of course we've all heard the stupid stuff that the government's going to the government's basically going to he's going to take away our freedoms. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. There's even some crazy girl out there that says that she's voting for Kamala because she's afraid that Donald Trump's going to make it illegal for people to have tattoos on their faces. Believe it or not, this level of they're using levels of stupidity like it's just so unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're trying. There's an old saying: always beware the accusing finger, and they're trying to label Donald Trump for what it is that they intend to do.
Okay, so hang on. We've got a troll we're going to boot out. So
I guess he's on his way out. So I'm kind of curious, Peter. We kind of danced around this a little bit. Economics and communism. It seems like it's always any communist nation that we've seen has always had a failure in economics. Has that been your experience? I mean, you've seen more than just Czechoslovakia when you were over there. There are other nations that were behind the Iron Curtain. There are other nations that were communism. Was it always a failure in economics, and was it intentional to repress people?
Good question.
Well, this is how it works. Let's say you have a factory and it's owned for a generation by owners. Now, communists confiscated it. Of course, that owner cannot run that family anymore. He has to work on the assembly line like everybody else. Somebody needs to be president. Somebody needs to be in the management. Every business needs to have some kind of management. Well, the managers were decided by being the communists. You cannot be in the management if you are not communist member. Of course, now they putting the people which is based on how good communists they are. They put in the charge of the factory. That person has no clue what to do. That person has no clue how to work or anything else. All what he needs to be is just be good communist. That means watch other people, tell on them and all this other stuff. So the factory pretty soon started being productive because it's run wrong way. It's ran down the ground. So now communists, because they confiscated everything, and now they have a bunch of different plants and manufacturing plants and farmers, and they confiscated the land, so they made the collective farms, and everything is run by communists. Doesn't matter what they know, doesn't matter if they have education. So eventually, everything starts losing the money. And because they don't, they control everything, but now you have businesses which are constantly losing money because nobody knows anything about productivity. And there are other businesses who might make some money. So they take the money from this side and support this side. So more and more businesses start losing the money. So what happened with communism, eventually they ran out of the money because everything is not profitable, so everything can work only so long. And that's what happened in East Europe. That's what happened in Russia. In Eastern Europe, after 40 years, the communism was going so bad. Then we have Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev, who we kind of say, yeah, Ronald Reagan made the communism go away. Well, that was just partially true. Ronald Reagan sped it up. He speed it up a little bit. It would happen anyway, but maybe 3, 4, 5 years later. So all those countries went bankrupt. And now if you have the business in America, let's say you have whatever, and you are not making profit, that business is not making profit, the owners cannot keep running it because it's not bringing the money in, right? So they either collect the bankruptcy or they sell it to somebody else. Somebody else come and say, hey, I know how to make it better. I'm going to make changes and hopefully I'm going to start making the money. But it's not end of the world. Even if they go in the bankruptcy, people, they close the door, people find jobs somewhere else. It's not end of the world. And somebody, like I said, somebody can come later and restructure and start making something else. Well, how do you fix that if the whole country is bankrupt? You can't.
Yeah.
So in order to come back from the bankruptcy, what those Eastern European countries, including Russia, have to do, they have to go back into capitalism. They give people back what they confiscated from grandfather. They give it back to grandchildren after communism were not in the power. They give it back to grandchildren, where grandchildren didn't know how to operate it, right? They didn't even know it was their possession. It was in their family 30, 40, 50 years ago. But they hire or somebody else came and they start running the business. So only way to get out of the communism black hole and bankruptcy is to go back to capitalism. So all those Eastern European countries went back to capitalism, including Russia. Russia is back to capitalism. And that's the only way to do it. So this is example why, if you have capitalism, if you have capitalism, which is bad word, young people don't want to hear that. But capitalism produces, it makes, there is competition. They have to produce, they have to make the stuff, they making the goods, they making the food, they making everything else. And then if it exists, if country is up and running, like it was in America, when everybody know what they're doing and how to do it and so on, but their leftists start pushing their ideas. So then country go into socialism. And as we know, in the Margaret Thatcher words, socialism eventually run out of people's money. Yep. So eventually it doesn't work. So next step is communism, when government control everything control. But like we know, communism doesn't work forever. But it took 70 years in Russia. It took 40 years in Eastern Europe before those countries went bankrupt. And then it go back to capitalism because that's only way to save it.
I got to ask you, Peter, when you hear somebody like Bernie Sanders saying that people like Stalin or Castro have failed because it wasn't done right. How do you respond to that?
Well, yeah. Well, we know these idiots, right? We know that Bernie Sanders, who is openly socialist, he even talked about that, but he owns how many houses does he own? What does he have? Communism confiscate those houses and they kick those people out of their house. If communism came, they would take his houses away and they move somebody else in there. Especially if it's big house, they move 3, 4, 5 different families in there. So these people who are talking about what you're saying and they're talking about, socialism and it wasn't done right. No, they don't understand. The communism is only one way, and that is dictatorship. It doesn't go in other way. And of course, it doesn't work.
So,
it's always a matter of the time. But unfortunately, it takes decades or longer before it actually break up.
So I hear a lot of this talk, and I kind of think people in communism really didn't have an identity. Do you find that they kind of try to strip people's identity away and just make them basically just part of the state that is their identity?
Yes, that's what they were doing. They didn't want people they hated individualism. They didn't want people have individual thinking. So they want to make everybody like a sheep to follow, right? Because sheep follows. She doesn't think. She just follows what they tell them to do and where they tell them to go. And that was what was destroying the identity, because everybody, individualism thinking, individualism, people who were doctors and whatever, those people show certain level of intelligence. So those people were get rid of. They were arresting the priests and preachers and ministers because they kind of lead their flag. They were arresting professors and architects and doctors because those people just through their thinking and just through their work and going after their goal became too dangerous to government, too independent. And they, of course, have to destroy those people. So those people were sitting in the gulags. Intelligence of the nation was sitting in the gulags. And people who were left over, they have no individualism. They destroyed everything and make everybody equal and make everybody like a flock or herd of the sheep.
Yes. Interesting way of putting it too. Indeed. So we are coming to the end of the show. I know you've got a book out, your website, journeyforfreedom.com. But is that where, if anybody wants to purchase your book, is that where they go?
Yes, they can go on my like you said, website, journeyforfreedom.com, and there is way to order the book over there. But I heard that some people have the problem when they were trying to order the book, it didn't go in, it didn't go through. So there is also my email address. So if somebody send me the email because they couldn't order the book through website, they can do it directly through me.
All right. And I think I've got to get my copy too. So anybody else too, if they get a copy through you, does that also include an autograph copy?
Yes, if they contact me, I will definitely autograph it. I will even personalize it to them or to whoever they want to give it to as a present.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we are definitely out of time. I want to thank you very much, Peter, for joining the show and putting a light on communism that they need to shine. We need to shine this light on this and take this upcoming election very, very seriously. So thank you so much for your time. God bless you and best of luck to you out there.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So on tap for next week, John and I will be speaking with Chuck Weiss. Now, if you follow Patriot Confederation, we've had him on the show in the past twice, including very recently. They have something going on in the state of Oregon called the Climate Protection Plan. And if that doesn't sound like a bunch of nonsense right there, well, he's going to shine some light on that. So with that said, Thank you very much for tuning in to Patriot Confederation. God save the Republic of the United States of America.
Events of recent history indicate that Americans are setting a course for the end of their own great nation. The ever-growing trend in this country is to judge people not by their individual character, but by their identity as a member of a specific group. No one has ever succeeded or failed in life as a result of their group affiliation. A person's success or failure is also not based on luck, but on the sum total of the decisions that they have made. Those who succeed do so through good work ethic and the wise use of their power to choose. The opposite is true of those who fail. The ideals of individual accountability and responsibility in the United States are dying every day. A gun cannot be responsible for a death, just as a shovel cannot be responsible for digging a ditch. Both are only tools and have no will of their own. Responsibility is an adjunct of conscious choice and is the price we pay for freedom. Freedom is also a tool. It's an essential tool that is needed by human beings if they are to prosper rather than to merely survive. Yet there are those who would rather trade their freedom for security. Some believe that it is the responsibility of government to provide freedom. In truth, we form government to ensure and protect the freedom that is already inherently ours.